And at what point did alcohol come into your life? And then how did you get free from it?
I wasn't a big drinker in high school. I experimented with alcohol a few times, never had a good experience with it. Should have figured it out early on. After the first time, I think I drank and threw up. My stomach was smarter than my head. Um, but I was also of that mindset, well, I got to figure this out. I got to be able to do this right. I got to be able to do this better. And actually getting out of my house, being drafted in the first round, Major League Baseball draft back in 1975, embarking on a professional career. It wasn't a college atmosphere where you can still, your individuality can play. You have freedom. There are more restrictions. I mean, there's not a lot of restrictions other than ones you put on yourself when you go out and you start playing pro ball. You know, I lived with a few other guys. When you're on the road, you get a hotel room. There's just a lot of free time, a lot of idle time. For me, it turned into be the devil's time. And then I found out that there were some guys that really liked drinking and were good at it. And if you'd win, you'd have a few beers. If you'd lose, you'd have a few beers. And if you got rained out, you'd have more beers.
And you joined them, huh?
I joined them. Actually, I locked arms and joined them. And before, it was probably 2 or 3 years of practice drinking, that once I got to the big leagues, my alcohol drinking probably manifested itself. And it was basically probably because of unmet expectations. My photo was on the cover of Sports Illustrated back in 1978 spring training issue. This year's Phenom. That's a pretty big title to put on anybody.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
Anything short of being a phenom, and you are a failure.
Yeah.
And through the drinking, I think it would help numb me at times. So momentarily there wouldn't be a pain or an anger or an anxiety or hurt. However, it manifested a lot of those emotions over time as well, where they became shameful. I felt guilty. You know, guilt. I shouldn't say I felt ashamed more than I felt guilt. Guilt is saying I made a mistake. Shame is when you say I am a mistake. And if I didn't play well enough, I felt I took it upon myself really hard. I felt let a lot of people down. I should be better. And then I'd go the other side up because then the next day I would try and work twice as hard, practice twice as long. And then if it didn't work again, well, then you go out and you numb yourself again at night. So I drank myself into my alcoholism. I have no one else to blame. And it got to a point where it did inhibit me from being the best player I could be. No doubt in my major league career, I was still able to accomplish a lot. There's such a thing as a functioning alcoholic. I didn't drink every day, Blake. However, every time I drank, I got drunk. And that is a telltale sign of alcoholism. And it just got to the point where even I was married twice, trying to fulfill that God-centered vacuum in my heart that God had put there. And I kept trying to stuff different things in there to fill it up and make it happy. I tried marriage a couple times. Neither one of them ended well. One was 2 years, one was 9 years. So I'm twice divorced. I'm a flawed human being. Twice divorced, recovering alcoholic. And it got to the point where I was actually spending some time dating another woman who happens to be downstairs right now, my wife, Carla, and true old school dating. And we kind of kept the relationship alive for about 6 years. And it got to the point where I felt, you know what, I was still drinking, but there were some things in a better place, some things weren't. But I thought, man, if I give this one more shot, this marriage thing's going to be the magic, the gold ticket. That's going to make everything better. Well, I mustered up all the guts that I could, because this is a twice divorced guy going to go up to a woman 10 years younger than him and ask her to marry him. And she'd never seen the big league player. She'd never really seen all the other stuff. She saw a minor league manager. And when I asked her, she looked at me and she said, "That's an interesting question." And I said, "Well, that's not the answer I've grown accustomed to." She said, "Well," she goes, "you know, I like you a lot. There's a really good guy in there. He doesn't come out often enough at all. And until you find a way to make yourself happy, Clint, you'll never make me happy." It was at that point in time that we had a couple other conversations, and I'm an old school guy, so I drew up on a piece of paper things I thought I did well, things I didn't do well, how I was going to start being the best Clint that I could be. And I had 20 things down on that piece of paper. The first one was rededicate my life to Christ. The second one was get sober. And I started working on those two, and I can't even tell you what the other 18 are now, because those two led to, rededication to Christ as my Savior and Lord, counseling, AA. I still go to AA meetings today. I'm 21 years recovering alcoholic today. But it wasn't easy. However, it was a miracle, and I'm a miracle. The fact that I could not drink. I know one beer is too many for me, and 100 aren't enough. And I do have an addictive personality to start with, anything I kind of plug into. So I need to be careful with everything. And it has been a way of life for me that's helped in my faith walk, that I truly do take things one day at a time. And this COVID-19 thing, in an ironic kind of way, people that are in recovery, that have good recovery in place, we're almost built for this, because we've been dealing with an invisible disease for years. And most of us have spent some time in isolation, maybe up to 28 days, maybe 3 months, who knows how long it's been, and find our way through and back. So for me, one day at a time has significant meaning. The serenity prayer has significant meaning, especially in this day and age as well, because it's God grant me the serenity. It's not the stock market grant me the serenity. It's not the supermarket grant me the serenity. It's not my paycheck grant me the serenity. It's not my job. It's not my wife. It's not my kids. I need to find my serenity from God so I can go out and be the best husband to Carla, the best dad to Ashley, to Christian, and to Maddie, the best friend I can be to Anthony, our friend, our local friend Anthony, and the other men and women that have come in my life, and the best servant I can be for our Lord and Savior. So that's kind of the cliff notes, but I've learned a lot and continuing to learn a lot each step of the way, and basically it's one day at a time.